Hi guys, good morning, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm gonna show you what traveling outside of the UK looks like right now. Today I'm flying to Germany. I'm not going on a holiday, but I'm not gonna get into that because this is not the point of this video. I want this video to be informative, so if you're traveling you can get an idea of what traveling internationally looks like right now. It's currently 4:40 in the morning, so excuse the deep voice, the sleepiness, all of that. I slept about 2 hours and not very well. I'm gonna try to keep it together. I'm flying to Berlin from London Heathrow and I'm flying with British Airways. My flight is at 8:40 in the morning and I also have a big luggage that I'm gonna check in. Currently, all countries have all kinds of different rules depending on which country you're coming from, so you always have to check the rules for the country you're going to and what rules that country has for the UK or for whatever country you're flying from. It's very confusing, it's a very elaborate process. Traveling is definitely not what it used to be. You can't just jump on a plane anymore. Obviously I'll be discussing Germany and flying from the UK to Germany. I would assume that a lot of these things would be similar, at least for other destinations. Germany requires all incoming passengers to have a COVID test, which must be taken within 48 hours before entering the country. They are accepting PCR tests, antigen tests, LAMP tests. They're not accepting antibody tests. Pretty much all London airports have a testing center on site, so depending on what time you're flying you might be able to just get tested at the airport. But also bear in mind that PCR tests take like usually around 48 hours, so obviously if the country you're going to requires only PCR tests, then you can't just get tested before flying. You're gonna have to like go a few days before. But antigen tests and I think LAMP tests, but I'm not sure, I think they're pretty quick, like 40-60 minutes. So depending on your time of travel you might be able to get tested just before your flight at the airport. Unfortunately that wasn't the case for me because my flight is at 8:40 and the earliest slot they had available at Heathrow was at 7 AM because I have a big luggage. That doesn't quite work because by the time I get the results it will be around 7:40, 7:50, but the check-in gate closed too soon, so that wasn't an option. So I got tested yesterday. I got tested with a lab called, I think, Collins. I don't know, I can't remember the name currently. They have a location at every London airport. I think they have one in Manchester and a couple of other places, and very luckily for me they had a testing center at the O2. I live in Stratford and O2 is a few stops away on the tube, so that was pretty convenient for me. It's in North Greenwich, so that's where I got my test. It was a very painless process. I'm gonna insert some footage here. Hey, I'm gonna get tested in a lab called Collinson. I'm currently at their O2 location, which is in a big empty parking lot. I booked the earliest slot for that day. There were already a few people in front of me, but I only waited for a couple of minutes. Once it was my turn, I had someone from the staff come and get me and they walked with me towards the tent. So the testing center is in a big tent, which is divided in two parts. In the first part, they check your booking reservation, they check your passport, what kind of test you have booked, whether it's okay for whatever country you're going to. This is also where you pay and then you're good to go. After the first part, you go to the second one and you stand in line to get your actual test. I am getting an antigen test because Germany accepts antigen as well as PCR, and antigen tests are faster and much cheaper, so it was the obvious choice. I'm sure most of you are already aware of the process. They just stick a cotton swab in your nose and they twist it around. It's not the most pleasant thing, but it was done in a few seconds and then I was free to go. The testing center was very quiet. I went there on a Thursday morning. There were hardly any people when I got there, and by the time I was finished there was no one in line. So that was testing. I got my test results about an hour after I took the test. They were negative, of course, so that was all good. All the testing centers that I found in London were pretty expensive, and actually that one that I found that has like locations at the actual airports was the cheapest one, which I didn't expect, and it was cheaper by a lot, almost half the price of anything else that I could see online. But again, I didn't have a huge amount of time to do my research, so make sure you do that. I also had to complete the passenger locator form for Germany. This is, I think at this point, pretty standard. Most countries will have that. I also have my certificate from my test. As far as I'm aware, as far as I could read, all of these documents are okay to be digital. Fingers crossed that's the case. On the British Airways website, when I just filled in my passport details, I wanted to check in online like we always do, and it just said that online checking is unavailable for me and I just need to do it at the airport. It didn't say why. Oh, it's so difficult to talk so early in the morning. So yeah, that's it. Another thing, for Germany they only accept these white masks. I'll put the name somewhere because my brain doesn't work. If you're going to Germany, make sure you have some of those. Let's just go to the airport. The trip to the airport was pretty chill. I took the tube and changed once. Overall, it took me just over an hour and a half, which was quite long. It was very hard to stay awake, but I managed and I got to Heathrow eventually. When I finally got to the airport, the first thing I did was just go to the terminal and figure out where my flight check-in desk is. The terminal was busier than I expected. I didn't think there would be that many people, even though there's still not that many flights per day. As I said earlier, online checking was not available, so the line was overall pretty long. It took me about 40-45 minutes to get through the line and check in my luggage. Make sure you leave yourself plenty of time to get through the airport because it takes a lot longer than before.
Gate number 10A, it will be a coaching gate, so make sure you're there at least half an hour before.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. I made it through check-in and that took ages. I think a lot of people just didn't have their documents ready, and also the queue was for different countries, so yeah, it just took a very long time. But I am done now. My actual check-in was for 2 seconds because I had everything ready, which is good. I had a lot of anxiety that I've missed something, but it is all good. Have my boarding pass and now I need to find security. Heathrow is huge. I have no idea where things are. Past security as well. They made me take my shoes off. How disgusting. But yeah, now I'm gonna grab some water and then I'll just hang. I got through security very quickly. Nothing has really changed there. In the terminal, there were loads and loads of shops that were open. Everything that you would expect from an airport, like Boots, WH Smith, a lot of clothing shops, as well as the duty-free shops. Everything was open. Starbucks and Pret a Manger were also open and they were actually pretty busy. A lot of the restaurants that I saw were still closed, but I think that's just because it was very early in the morning, so there was no reason for them to be open. Overall, everything that you would expect to be open in a terminal was there and working. Because I spent such a long time waiting for check-in, I didn't have much time left after I got through security. I think I had about 5 minutes before I had to make my way to my gate. In terms of boarding, they're still boarding in groups, although I think British Airways generally do that, which was pretty nice. However, just after you get cold, all of you get stuffed in a bus, and this is pretty much the point where logic leaves the room. I appreciate that they're trying to keep you around only the people who are going to sit around you in the airplane anyway, but stuffing all of you in a crowded bus just before you board the plane kind of defeats the purpose. When you enter the plane, you are of course greeted by the lovely crew. That still hasn't changed. As people are boarding, the crew are giving out little packets of PPE, like personal protection equipment. It contains some hand sanitizer and some wipes. On the little baggie, it says that you're welcome to clean your seat and your armrest, so I went ahead and did that. Not all airlines are doing that. I know some of them are using some chemicals to disinfect the plane and they specifically ask you not to use wipes, but in this case, it was okay. My plane was super empty. I don't think I've ever been on such an empty flight. I think only around 1/3 of the seats were taken. So it was a bit bizarre, but it was nice to have the whole row to myself. We boarded pretty quickly. We went through the standard procedures and that was that. We were ready to take off. I made it through German passport control as well. They only asked for my negative COVID test and obviously my passport. But yeah, that was pretty quick, not much hassle. So now I just need to go and collect my luggage. Okay guys, this is the end of this video. I hope you found it useful. I think the main point is wherever you travel, make sure you know what documents you need and make sure you get tested and just have everything prepared, because that's just gonna save you so much stress at the airport. So yeah, just check online what you need depending on your destination and stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it useful and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.
Baby, can you stop hesitating? No more second thoughts. Stop delaying. Got me feeling like